Hi everyone, it's Grace. Welcome back to my channel. So we're already in the last quarter of 2022, and so far it has absolutely been a roller coaster ride. And in today's video, I want to focus on why is everything getting so expensive even if we're in a recession? It just doesn't make any sense, and it's very confusing. In the last video, I provided you with the latest data from July to August in terms of the housing market inventory and price on a year-over-year change. And you can click here to check out that video. And I will be updating a forecast for what the Fed will do to the Fed funds rate very soon. So stay tuned for that. And for today's video, I'm going to share with you a lot of interesting things that's going to explain the conflicting situation a little bit better. All right, before we begin today's video, remember to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell button so you get notified immediately when new videos like this are uploaded. Also, feel free to give this video a thumbs up if you find it useful. And another way to support my channel is by donating any amount that you feel comfortable with, either through PayPal, Cash App, Zelle, or QuickPay. And I'll provide the links and Linktree in the description down below. Thank you so much for your support. So the September CPI just came out to be 8.2%. And this is not a very good number because when you're looking at the August situation, it actually was 8.3%. So it was actually not that different from a month ago. And then we're also going to refer to the unemployment rate, which came out to be 3.5% also for September. And that's also not a very good sign. So these two numbers basically gives the green light for the Fed to be a little bit too hawkish. I think at this point, you know, the jumbo rate hike of 75 basis points for November and December FOMC meeting will probably take place. However, this is my thought. I think that the Fed is being a little bit too aggressive because if you're thinking about the inflation as in general as an economy, it really takes some time for this index to come down because companies and also consumers and the economy as a whole have to adjust to the situation. It's not like when you implement a policy, it will immediately take effect. So I do think that the Fed needs to be very, very careful at this point because we're seeing that the stock market is being slashed and then also consumer activities are also slowing down quite a bit. So being overly hawkish is definitely one of the biggest policy risks that we're seeing right now. And I'm going to explain a little bit more in the forecast in the next video. All right, so the next thing that we're seeing is that like everything is absolutely getting more expensive. If you're thinking about food, right? I know that gas price has decreased a lot, but food is getting more expensive and it's really, really confusing. But you have to understand that, you know, in order to produce food, energy is also used. And then a core part of the cost for food is also labor cost and material cost. And those two costs are not coming down anytime soon. And we're seeing electronics, for example, like computers, iPhones, or, you know, any other phones, cars, you know, all these consumer products are getting more expensive and it's just getting a little bit unbearable. And the other part of the cost that's getting more expensive is rent, right? Because a lot of buyers are actually sidelined because of the current situation, either in a market that's overvalued, that's correcting or crashing right now. So a lot of buyers are actually pushing out of the buying market and existing or resting in a rental market. So that's why rents are getting more expensive right now, and it's not coming down. So this is actually not a good news for average consumers at all. And then the other thing that's also increasing is the insurance bills and medical bills, right? So consumers are in a very painful situation right now, and we need to see some, you know, relief from that because the mass base of the consumption is the very basis for economic growth for the U.S. as a whole. And a third thing that I want to share with you is related to inventory recession. If you know me, Kathy Wood is one of my favorite investor advisors. So in Chinese, there's a saying that she is like the investment goddess, just like Warren Buffett is the investment god, right? So I 100% agree with Kathy Wood that we're in an inventory recession, which is very different from 2008. Because if you think about it, a lot of companies that are holding inventory, they're withholding it because they can control the supply and then increase the price so that maximizes their profit. However, we're seeing that because the consumption for average consumers is really slowing down. And we're seeing 2 consecutive negative real GDP growth. So that's a sign of recession. So a lot of companies are actually aware of that. And they also need to get rid of the inventories very quick. So not just for physical goods, right? But we're also seeing that in the housing market, a lot of the institutional investors, they're holding a lot of the inventories for both new and secondhand houses. So they also are in such a situation where they have to consider if it's more profitable, if it's more reasonable to hold on to those inventory, or it makes sense to get rid of some of the inventory. So it really depends on how they behave. So as the inventory is picking up, the price will come down. And I do think that at some point into 2023, we're going to see a lot of inventories being released into the market, and that will really help with the inflation. But right now, average consumers are just in a very painful situation, and just be aware of that. And the fourth point is that the unemployment rate just dropped to 3.5% as of September, also a 0.1% drop. That is very, very confusing. If you're looking at the other side of the story, a lot of companies, the big corporations, they're actually having a hiring freeze. And it's just not making any sense. If you're looking at the number of jobs that are added to the market and also the unemployment rate according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it gives the green light for the Fed to be overly hawkish. And I think that, I'm not a policymaker, and I also don't speak from a politician's point of view, but the Fed funds rate is the single tool that the Fed is using to reach low unemployment rate and also low inflation. But I think the tool is too simplified. Is there any other tool that can be used to improve the situation? I think there's definitely tools out there, but it's a problem of whether the Fed is willing to use those other tools or not, or there are other government organizations that are using these tools to help improve the inflation situation a little bit better. So the last point relating to the unemployment rate is that you're seeing 2 separate things or 2 conflicting things happening at the same time. One is the quiet quitting, and the other one is quiet firing. And this is very, very confusing because a lot of people are still having a sort of like burnout rate at this point. But because the consumption is slowing down really, really quickly, so corporations are also having a hiring freeze, or they're quietly firing people, like a proportional layoff. So what is the real conclusion for this fight between employees and employers? I think that because of the inflation, people are aware that they need more money in terms of wages and salaries. But on the other hand, because the consumption is really slowing down and corporates need to be very cautious, so they're also controlling that labor cost at the same time. However, when we're looking at real numbers, the labor cost is still increasing. So that's why it's also incorporated into the CPI, and it's also like 8.2%. So that's why you're seeing that everything is getting more expensive, because people still want more, even though we're in the middle of a recession. So this is today's video about why is everything getting so expensive even if we're in a recession. And I hope you find this video useful. In the next video, I'm going to provide a Fed funds rate forecast for you so you know when is the middle of the recession and also the bottom point of the recession, and get ready for the market correction. All right, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you on the next one.